Me and my cousin was talking about how it can be difficult hanging around people who have these mother-daughter relationships, and we don't really know what that's like. And if you don't share that ideology or that same relationship with your mother, it's almost, as far as society is concerned, it's almost looked like you look like you have a problem, like you're looked down upon, like, what? Oh my God, your mother isn't your superhero, she isn't your best friend, like, what's wrong with you? You don't adore the ground your mother walks on? She's not on this pedestal, like, no. And we were talking about how uncomfortable it can be growing up in a world where mothers are idolized and praised and esteemed so high, but you don't have that same understanding or relationship with your mother, and so you don't share that same experience. And we talked about societal pressure and the stigma that can come with not having certain things that society deems as normal, like not being in a happy marriage, not having children by a certain period of time, not having a healthy relationship with your mother, when that's just not the narrative for everybody. And in fact, it's not the narrative for a lot of people. A lot of people do not have healthy relationships with their parents, but they're forcing themselves to live in a fantasy because they don't want to be rejected, because they don't want to be judged, because they don't want the stigma that comes with the truth of their lived experiences, like their childhood trauma. So they would rather pretend that this person who didn't treat me the best in my most vulnerable years as a child is my best friend, when in fact that's not your best friend. If that person wasn't your parent, you probably wouldn't even deal with them. You wouldn't F with them at all. But because they have this title, you have more respect for the title than for the person. And that's a problem, and that's how we create cognitive dissonance. This is how we rationalize abuse and disrespect and dysfunction, because we do it with our own family members, and then we turn around and do it with our friends and with our partners. And we end up in long-term abusive, toxic relationships. What would it look like for you to own your truth, even if that means separating yourself from people who have known you the longest, such as family and friends? Sometimes we say these are people that are closest to us. It's not that they're closest to you. They've just known you the longest. They don't even know who you are, and you don't really have a clear understanding of who they are either, because you're not sharing your true authenticity with them in fear you're going to be judged. In theory, you're going to be criticized. So do they really know who you are? So when are you going to stop gaslighting yourself and be honest about what happened to you and your experiences? Because you're not honest about your experiences, you're not being honest with yourself, and that creates distrust within the self. You would rather be liked. You would rather be accepted by society. You would rather follow a narrative that doesn't even fit or feel right to you in order for you not to experience judgment, criticism, by meeting some bogus societal standard that, again, does not fit the narrative for a lot of people. So why are we trying to measure up to it? You know what we're doing? We're picking away at ourselves because we didn't meet the standard, and we're judging ourselves, and we're living in a self-critical place because we're not living the so-called American dream. But maybe the American dream isn't your dream. What would it look like for you to live in your authenticity, to be free of these conditions, to be free of the societal norms and pressures, to be free from the expectations of others?